The Model View Control Pattern, or the MVC pattern, which was originally created in the 1970s, is a software pattern built for keeping the presentation of data separate from the methods that interact with that data. An ideal MVC system should allow a website's front-end developer and back-end developer to work on the same system without interfering in each other's files and work. It was originally designed for personal computing, but has evolved as one of the most famous patterns for website development. Welcome to the course on PHP, a server-side scripting language, also used as a general-purpose programming language. This module introduces you to implementing MVC with PHP. By the end of this module, you will be able to explain the concept of model, view and controller in web development. Create a web application on XAMPP using MVC methodology. The Model View Controller MVC is a software pattern whose idea is to separate logic from user interface. This pattern is a collation of three core parts that formulate this model. They are model, view and controller. MVC caters to the issues of separation of concerns and in web development in PHP. Separation of concerns (SOC) in computer programming is a principle of separating programs into distinct sections, each of which address a different concern. A concern is a set of information that affects the program. They can be as general as hardware details, where the code is being executed, or as specific as that of the name of any class being instantiated. In the field of software engineering, the principle of repeat yourself refers to creating code elements that are unique and unambiguous with respect to the rest of the code. If each element of a program is written keeping in mind, any modification to a single element in a system does not ask for change in any other unrelated part of the program. The related part also aptly updates itself automatically with respect to the changes. The model folder or class contains the permanent storage of all that is used in the overall application design. It provides access for viewing, collecting, and modifying the data. It also acts as a bridge between the view component and the controller component. Model is technically considered blind, as it has no information on what happens to the data once it is passed to the view or controller component. It does not call or seek the other components. Its only purpose is to process the data in the permanent storage or pass it to the other components. The model acts as a gatekeeper to the data, where it does not interrogate and accepts all the requests presented to it. It is the pinnacle of the whole MVC system, without which there would not be any connection in controller and view. The view component is responsible for displaying data to the user. Traditionally in the web apps, the view is where the HTML is generated and displayed. It is also responsible for igniting responses from the user, who then goes to the controller to act on the responses. For example, a button in the application's view, when clicked by the user, triggers the controller. But it is also important to note that a view never gives the data directly to the controller. There is always the model in between. The controller handles the data submitted by the user. It is responsible for updating the model accordingly. The user gives life to the controller. Without interactions from the user, the controller lacks purpose. This is the only part of the web application that the user interacts with. It can be defined as a collector of information, which passes that information to the model and does not contain any other logic, but only that which is required for collecting information. The controller can function only when the user triggers the view with some tasks to perform. In this video, you will learn how to create Model View Controlled, or MVC application. First, create index.php and write the code as shown on the screen. The index.php file will make sure that we have some connection to query the database. Next, create starconnect.php and write the code as shown. We have created a singleton class so that we can create only one instance of the class, which is used for applying all queries. The construct function and the clone function are made private, as the class is singleton. The variable $inst holds the connection object. In the end, we use $dbGetInst to access our connection object. Next, create layout.php and write the code as shown. It contains a header, which is defined with different links of basic menu and footer. We also call the routes.php file, which determines what views will be put in the main area of the page. This is done through the previously set $controller and $action variables. Next, create routes.php and write the code as shown. It displays the HTML content that was requested. To fetch the correct view, we have a controller name and an action name. Now, create pages_controller.php in starControllers folder. It has two public functions, home and error. The first function defines some variables that will be displayed. Now, create home.php and error.php in starViews folder. When you run localhost /*MVC/ on your browser, you get the output as shown on your screen. In this video, you will learn how to improving the application of models and data management in MVC application. After creating the basic data structure, we want to be able to query the database and display the results. We will update the root.php file for the controller details controller.php, as shown in the code. We have implemented the new class details controller class, which contains the information, such as the name of the singers, one of their songs and its lyrics. The pages controller control the static application pages, while the details controller manages the resources of the application. Here, the resource is the singer's information. Next, we will create details controller.php file in starControllers folder, and the code is shown on the screen. In the code given on screen, details all and details find indicate the details model, which is not written yet. Next, we will create details.php in starModels folder, the code is shown on the screen. After creating our details.php file to define the model of the project, we will go back and update our layout.php file. In the layout.php, we have also set layout for our details controller. After this, we will create the views required for the details controller. Next, we will create index.php in subfolder, details, in folder starViews, the code is shown on the screen. The code and display on the screen displays the list of the singers. Now, create show.php in subfolder, details, in folder starViews, the code is shown on the screen. The code display on the screen displays the song of a specific singer and its lyrics. After successfully placing all the codes, the directory the structure will be as shown on the screen. The content present in the database can be easily accessed when we run the code. To run the codes, type localhost /*MVC in your browser. The final output of this MVC project is shown on the screen. The summary of the module on connecting with databases has been put on the screen. I will pause for a few seconds to allow you to read it. The summary of the module on implementing MVC with PHP has been put on the screen. I will pause for a few seconds to allow you to read it. In the next module, we will learn about testing PHP-based web applications. Thanks for watching.